The reason why many of us fail at achieving purpose is that we look down on the level of spiritual, physical intelligence that is needed to birth success out of us. Sometimes I hear people talk about transitions and how to go through seasons of change. And I usually say to them, the most important thing is not the fact that the season is changing, but how you respond to the changing season. Because one thing you can be guaranteed of is that life will not always wait for you. Life will not always wait for you to be ready, for you to be prepared, for you to be self-aware. Life is going to happen. So the question is, are you going to prepare ahead of a transition, or are you simply going to wait for it to play out and then you are eating the crumbs of whatever life has to offer? The other thing I want to say to you is, in as much as you feel unprepared for your season of transition, the enemy is not unprepared. Remember, the Bible calls him the old crooked serpent. So Satan is always waiting at the door of every transition that you need to make. And he is waiting not helplessly, but he's waiting with a strategy. He's waiting with a plan. He's waiting with a blueprint that he has studied and he has mastered through generations. He has mastered the weaknesses of your great-grandfather, the weaknesses of your father, and now he's in your generation. So you are fighting an enemy that has history on his side. So you have to be ready. So there is a systemic programming of hell that tries to necessitate that every time Satan attacks you, you are never able to take him down. Now, he doesn't just use the past. Another thing that he does with this systemic programming is that he ensures that you are programmed to, for lack of a better word, self-destruct. So that in another 10 years, another 15 years, another 20 years, you keep self-sabotaging. Now, how does he propagate this programming? I'm sure you're wondering and you're asking. He usually does this through multiple generations. And he does this by binding you to a mindset of either failure, a mindset of shame, a mindset of fear. And this is passed down from generation to the generation. And the chains that bind the next generation is the very chain that held the previous generation in thoughts and in imaginations that made it impossible for them to go past the point. Let's use an example in the Bible. Think about the children of Israel. Let's not just think about the fact that they failed. A first generation failed at getting to the promised land, but let's consider the fact that when God was going to give them commandments, God gave them a set of rules, a set of ways of thinking, ways of acting, ways of imagining and engaging with one another. And he said to them, don't only embrace these commands, but teach it to your children and teach it to your children's children. And God began to speak about the transference of generational characters and characteristics and values and virtues. Why was the Lord doing this? He said to them, if you do this, number one, you are going to possess, you're going to go into the land. Number two, you're going to possess the land. Number three, you're going to increase in the land. These are three different things. And I found out that until you begin to think about the generational effect of mindset captivity, it's going to become almost impossible for you or your children's children to break into the promises of God and to possess and to maintain them. So I want to talk to you about the word for curse and what it means, because many people say, oh, Pia, you keep talking about generational limitations and stuff like that. How really does it occur? What does it look like? Does it look like demonic oppression at night? Does it look like, things you cannot explain manifesting all around you? Well, sometimes, yeah, depending on how, strong the impact is. But in reality, let's go back to the beginning, because when you take it back to the first time it was mentioned, it gives you an idea of the big picture. So the word for curse is the Hebrew word. The first time it was used in Genesis is the Hebrew word kolal. It's spelled as Q-A-L-A-L, but it's pronounced as kolal. And it's a verb, actually. So it's an action word. It's a doing word. So a curse is not just a noun. It's not he's crazy and then it means nothing. So a verb literally means something that is active. So a curse is a thing that is actively propagating itself through generations. So I needed to take note of that. It is active. So it manifests, it has strength, it has a will, it has direction, it is in motion. Now, the meaning of that word, it has different meanings, different meanings for the Hebrew word. But here are some of the meanings. It means to be slight, to be trifling, to be of little account, to be lightly esteemed, to be made despicable, to be treated with contempt, to bring to be contempt or dishonor, to be made to move to and fro. Now, I need you to think about it. So when you say there's a curse going from a generation to a generation, it doesn't necessarily mean that the people are dying. Sometimes just the fact that they are constantly moving to and fro is the proof that something is amiss. It's the proof that there is a pattern that is playing out through that lineage or in that person's life that is making it impossible for them to find stability. It also means to be despicable or to bring contempt. And it's almost as though, everywhere this person goes or everywhere you go, it's almost like you're never able to establish a history of favor in your lifetime. You have to struggle through everything, and people just say stuff like, I don't know, I don't like you, or as soon as you walked in, I just thought, hey, I don't want to be part of it. People don't want to invest in your project, they don't want to invest in your life. There is something that is amiss. But one of the things that I want to talk about is when it says to be light, to be lightweight, or to be of light esteem. Now, this is really critical because we're talking about making transitions, and we're talking about how the enemy can stop you from making transitions by reason of the mindsets that he embeds in your life. And now a curse speaks about to be lightweight. Is it possible that the enemy has programmed some, for lack of a better phrase, some lack thinking in your mind, maybe through generations, either through culture, through friendships, location, geography? Is it possible that there's a way in which you don't esteem the things that are important as much as you should, and that in itself makes it impossible for you to enter where you should be? Let's use a good example in the scriptures. We see it in Genesis, the story of two brothers. They were born on the same day, they grew in the same womb, they had the same opportunity, but they were never able to arrive at the same destiny. So they were given equal opportunity by God, but the outcome of their lives was determined by their ability to esteem one thing. That one thing was covenant. So Esau, by reason of his human birthright as the firstborn, should have been the carrier of that covenant. But we see how in scriptures Esau missed it, he lost it. It was right in front of him. It was sitting on his lap, and he could not identify the value of what he carried. Now, you look at the life of Jacob and you may say to yourself, Jacob was a thief. Jacob was scheming. But the truth is, Jacob had the capacity to identify the weight of the covenant, and he did everything in his life to ensure that he became the one that benefited of it. Now, as at the time when, talking about transitions, and I need you to hear me clearly, as at the time when Esau sold the birthright to Jacob, because he came back, he was hungry, he's like, I need food, Esau didn't even know he had lost anything. Now that's the painful part. The times when we make the decisions that move us away from the path of favor, that move us away from the path of esteem, that move us away from the path of honor, that makes it possible for us to transition into destiny. The time when we make those wrong decisions, we usually don't know we have made them. And the reason why is because wrong decisions concerning the weight of destiny do not usually manifest themselves in the moment when we make them. The effect of it waits in our future. So here is Esau and Jacob. He does that, and then some years later, his father is about to die. And no matter what Esau did, he was given the instruction first. He ran to get the animal. He cooked it the best way his father loved it. He did everything possible. No matter what he did, time, chance never worked in his favor. It was just impossible for him to be the one that got the birthright. I need you to understand it. Time and chance stopped working in his favor because some years before he had giving his birthright to his brother. He just said it flippantly. And that's why you must never joke with your words. The Bible says the power to life and death is in the tongue. So in the time when Esau needed to make the most important destiny transition, he was unprepared. Because some years before that, he had joked about the value of his life and the value of what he carried. You may be listening to me right now and you're saying to yourself, oh my goodness, Pastor Isi, I can identify certain areas in my life that I have treated lightly, and I see now how these things have made an impact on where I am or where I'm going to. What do I do? How do I redeem time? How do I get it all back? Now, there's only so much I can say on this short video, but I have done an elaborate explanation in my book, and it's called From Here to There: How to Make Successful Transitions. So I needed to get that book because in the book I really explain the concept of the curse, and I really explain the concept of how it makes it hard for generations to successfully transition, and just even the place of culture. Because that's the next thing I want to talk to you about this programming of hell and this, programming of Satan, and how in the day you're called to influence an authority, your mind begins to limit you because you have so mastered the place of lightness and surface dwelling that you're unable to walk in strength, in power, in capacity, and just that mentality of smallness that he creates inside of you is what sets those boundaries, that make it hard for you to be able to move onto heights of greatness. Now, those who are locked within these systems, the thing that happens is they become satisfied with whatever they're given, and they're like, the slightest crumb is okay. So people say things like, oh, in my family, this is how we are. In my nation, this is who we are, or in our generation, this is how things work. This is the culture. But the question is there more? Should we be bound by culture? Should we be bound by tradition? Should we be bound by the little that life has to offer? Have you ever stretched your mind to believe that perhaps you are being programmed to accept what you're given? How does this little crumbs, make things better? Is it possible that this is a programming of hell? Now, darkness usually strengthens this experience by showing that there is a thorn in your flesh that serves as a constant reminder of your captivity. Let me explain that just a little bit. The Lord needs you to deliver marriages, and you've seen it in dreams and visions and prophecies. And then the enemy ensures that when you get married, there's never peace in your home. And no matter what you do or how much you try, there is just like constant misunderstanding, and the spirit of misunderstanding literally dwells in your home. Now you have this destiny to be a minister and to bring healing and restoration to marriages. And then 2 generations before in your home never enjoyed good marriages. And then you're aware of this. And then you are also aware of the calling. And you are married now, and then there's consistent unrest in your house. I'm telling you, it's like a thorn in your flesh that keeps saying to you, hey, remember, your father never made it. Your mother never made it. You will not make it. It's impossible for you to go forward. Just accept it. We have to deal with that thorn. We have to break this programming. And in From Here to There, the book about transitions, I share about different examples of such, thorns that you could have in your flesh, and how these different categories can affect you in different ways. But the thing I want you to understand is, when you get born again, your spirit gets saved, your soul is saved. But the thing is, or your soul is also saved, but your soul is being transformed into the nature of the spirit, because it's sitting in between your body and your spirit. And it's just that place that is engaging with both. So if you strengthen the affairs of the flesh, your soul gets more fleshy. If you strengthen the matters of the spirit, your soul gets more spiritual. So it just determined the state of the soul is determined by what you are feeding per time. The thing about the soul is, your soul is one that has actively engaged in this world. So your soul needs to be reborn and retaught how to desire the ways of God, and how to interpret the way God interprets, and how to feel the way God feels. You will always move in the direction of your passion, and that's what it is. And this is why you must steward your soul very carefully with the things you allow to stimulate you. The things you are stimulated by become the things you are passionate about. So the cure for the struggles in the soul is actually the truth of the Spirit and prayer. This is the transportation system by which the soul moves from being fleshy into being spiritual. So you use prayer to massage truths into your soul. You use prayer to just massage it into your soul. So sometimes the soul is like a rebel that wants to go wherever it is pulled, but you need to have the Spirit to remind it that it belongs to a family that is subject to Christ. And you do this, you set this reminder in the place of prayer, in the place of the study of the word, in the place of consecration. Now, why is this important? Why is it important that you take the word you hear and speak it over and over to your soul, commanding your soul and your body to march forward towards the throne of God? Why is it important that all three of them, spirit, soul, and body, are before the Lord? Why is it important that your soul comes into the reality of what you're experiencing in your spirit? This is because of the passion, your passion, and your desires, and how all of this affect your decisions. And your decisions basically affect your ability to transition into the next level of destiny. So in the transformation of the soul, it is all about consistency in prayer. So many people pray, what they call good prayers, but they do not allow the spiritual truths of God to break into the soul realm. Now, when God highlights something to you while you're praying, bring it before Him consistently over and over again. As a result of this constant prayer and starving your soul of worldly emotions, the soul becomes trained to desire the things of Christ. Now, I talk a lot about, the soul and, retraining the soul for the purpose of transition. There's a lot of conversation about that in the book From Here to There. But the most critical thing you need to remember is why this is important for making transitions. If you want to get from here to there, the link is in the description under this video. So go ahead, click the link, get the book, study the book, the way to read that book, because it's got a lot of tips in it. It's got a lot of ideas on how you can walk through paths. Actually, a lot of times I listed points and principles that you can hold on to make the needed transition. So please go ahead, get the book, and make sure that this day you're walking free. You're making your necessary transition. You're entering the next level and next phase of your life. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Watch out for the next video, because I'm going to be sharing some more tips with you in the next video. And I'll be telling you about how to birth, from the place of pain, the power of birthing, even though you have been born in pain and you have gone through pain. Thank you for listening. God bless you.